I'm sure you remember what I was like in the beginning and how much that has changed. And the hell that we went through with our teenage daughter, Selena. It was a lot of work. Traumatic, actually. In the beginning, I thought maybe we could just go to a seminar, bring her along. She would see what her behavior was like and just, change. What a joke. What a joke that was on me. The reality is that it took a whole sequence of events, consequences, and choices by her, and with my unflinching love and guidance. Actually, I flinched a lot, but overall I didn't give up. No, you didn't give up. So many parents want an easy solution. So many parents call me or write me and say, can you fix my child? Well, no, I can't. It's all going to end up being about you. In fact, their child has to be pretty old before I let a parent even bring them here with them, like as in their 20s, because all of the work that's going to be done is going to be after the parent has learned to be more loving themselves. And when they first feel loved here, I'm going to make a negligible difference with the child in a brief period of time that they visit. And so parents want it to be easy. They read the principles, and then they get to their first no to a child, where the parent says no, and they're screwed. They can't stand the thought of the child's disapproval. One man with several children. This is a grown man with a business who looks competent and strong and all put together, literally burst into tears in my presence at the thought of telling his daughter that she had to do her homework before she went out and played with her friends. I'm not kidding. He burst into tears. That's how much he needed her approval, which he called, by the way, her love. He said, my daughter loves me unconditionally. No, your daughter doesn't love you unconditionally at all. Your daughter really loves it that you're a pushover and that she gets to be entitled, but that's not loving. Not even like close. He couldn't risk losing her approval. So in the end, he listened to pretty much not a thing I said. He was just too afraid of her. So he did lose her approval because he let her be entitled, and eventually you can't satisfy a sufficiently entitled person. You can't give them enough. They'll start taking body parts off of you. And because then she did become disapproving and he couldn't make his little princess happy, then he lost her too. She started on drugs. She got pregnant. She lived with her boyfriend in his parents' house. It was a horrifying mess, all because the father gave up on the principles of parenting at the first difficult moment. No kidding. It all goes back to that. Parents call me when they have difficulties with their 2-year-old, and they'll say, well, I make them do whatever behavior it is that they have to do, go to bed on time, most of the time. And I'm going, well, then don't do it at all. They say, well, what do you mean? I say, to a child, most is like an introduction to Las Vegas. It's gambling. And the kid's going, I'm willing to gamble. I'm willing to break all the rules and see what happens, because most of the time you don't do anything. You either have to be 100% consistent with the child or don't bother. You continue. I could never have imagined this process, and you could not have told me in the beginning all that it would involve, because it just evolved as we went. It took her sneaking out of the house in the middle of the night over and over. It took me discovering what she was doing for real by checking her phone, which I had to get from, under her mattress while she was asleep. It took her running away repeatedly, followed by interventions by police, social services. It took her protesting rules of any kind that I proposed. It took her self-cutting. It took hospital admissions, suicide watch, interview by child protection detective, removal from school, eventually changing schools, removal of all privileges. I'm not making this up. I'm reading this from the parent. Removal of all privileges, 0 electronics for 3 months, homeschooling. Eventually, this kid was causing so much trouble that she couldn't even be trusted to go to school and not break the rules and skip school and go to a friend's house. Eventually, she had to be homeschooled. It took all that, you say, and more. And it is still requiring a huge amount of vigilance and love to keep her close and on the path. I'm discovering that if I turn my attention away for more than a moment, she will likely wander off again. But right now, she's joyful, playful, cooperative. It was worth all that it took. You said two little things there at the end that are important. You said, it's like I can't turn away my attention for a moment. I had a parent call me the other day and say, this 2-year-old, I can't even turn around, and he's up on the counter and he's handling knives and he's throwing things. And am I raising a psychopath? I said, no, he's 2. He's 2. You just can't turn your back on a 2-year-old. Or you have to put everything away. You take your pick, but they require constant supervision because they have a great deal more energy than you do. And they haven't seen these things before. And they don't know that it will hurt their little sister if they poke her with a knife or stick a fork in her leg. And so, well, they're curious. I mean, who wouldn't want to know what it's like to stick a fork in your sister's leg? You also said it was worth all that it took. It takes a lot of things. Like the father I was talking about. He wanted a quick fix. Never happens like that. Never. We got them in the position where they are with a lot of bad parenting. And then we want to do some good parenting for, 5-6 minutes and change all that around. Good luck. If you want a happy life for yourself or members of your family, you can plan on incredible diligence. Not necessarily more work, but certainly diligence and awareness. You continue. Last night we went to parents' evening at her new school. The feedback from all the teachers was lovely to hear. She has settled in well, and her grades have gone up from about 40%, average about 6 months ago. 40% is well below an F, to 80% now across most subjects. Yeah, that would be a considerable improvement. If a stock improved its growth from 40% to 80%, the stockholders would be very happy. The teachers say that she's a pleasure to teach. Bet you never thought you'd hear that. She's really enjoying learning there. It's fun to see her enjoying learning. Of course it is. Another cool thing was the contrast in her being around me at parents' evening at school. In the past, she's been embarrassed to have me there and was fearful and controlling. She was worried about what I was going to wear, what I might say, how I walked, how I sat. And when we were there this time, when we were there before, she would be hostile or distant or disengaged. But last night, she actually held my hand at parents' night. This is with other students and kids around. That's actually kind of unbelievable, kind of tear-jerking. She held my hand the whole time we were there and leaned against me. And in between appointments, asked for hugs, played with my hair. She was so relaxed. A couple of teachers even remarked at the fact that we were holding hands because they'd never seen it before in all their years of teaching. Imagine. She remarked afterwards that she felt grateful to have a mom that she could feel close to, and that none of the other girls seemed close to their parents at all. They looked all pretty scared, in fact. So how are you feeling now about all those steps that you had to take? And I listed them very fast because there were a whole lot of them. How do you feel about them now? They were difficult. Wow, were they worth it? And had you done less, the other night at parents' night wouldn't have happened. Some things, if you put in half an effort, you don't get half a result. You get nothing. If you go to pick up a 100-pound weight and you exert a 50-pound force, not a thing happens. Nothing. It doesn't wiggle, it doesn't move, it doesn't lift a little bit, it doesn't go half as high as you want it to. And the same is true with parenting. Do half an effort, you don't get a half well-behaved child. No, you get to visit them in jail. So to everybody who's listening, this mother simply did what was required. She didn't argue and fuss and say, I'm going to do it. She just did it. She read the parenting book and just did it, as opposed to most parents who read the parenting book and they complain that it's hard, like the father I described earlier. Oh, I couldn't tell her she has to do her homework like that was some inquisitional torture. He said it was just too hard. Well, too bad, because that's your job. It is your job to see to it that she does her homework, not really hers, because you haven't taught her that it was hers. Eventually, it does become her job. But in the beginning, no, that's your job. But this woman loved her daughter enough to do the hard stuff. She loved her daughter enough, pay attention, to have her daughter on many occasions scream, "I hate you. I wish you were not my mother. I wish you were dead." I was there. I got to hear it. But the mother was willing to hear that and persist in doing what was right. Hero. In the newspaper, we read about killings and drugs and everything else that's terrible. We don't read about heroic mothers. This woman should be on the front page of the newspaper. She continues. She also noticed that in between appointments with teachers, everybody was buried in their phones, both the girls and the parents. I just said that her feeling close to me was because of the choices she had made. That's very cool that you gave her the credit, even though in the beginning, she just fought you like a wildcat. I reminded her, you say, of what we had heard on one of the video chats, that we don't need to do anything ever to be loved. But we do need to do things and make choices to feel loved. And she did those things. And now she was reaping the rewards. I mean, this is just touching. This is just becoming more heroic by the moment. You continue. I'm acutely aware that this is just one point in time, and there's more to learn. Right now, she's on a boy detox, which means she's not exchanging messages on social media with any boys. Now, pay attention to this, everybody who's listening. She made that choice. The girl did. The teenage girl observed that her whole life was utterly distracted when she was communicating with boys. So she said to her mother, "Would you please help me? I want to be on a boy detox." You believe that? Believe you're hearing this? This is what happens when you love your kids. She said, because it's just too stressful when I'm communicating with boys and trying to do my homework and blah, 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 blah. You continue. She's also only got access to a laptop at defined times and right now has no smartphone. Again, her choice, the daughter's choice. She's observed that she goes crazy when she's on video or screen time all the time. It makes a huge difference to how happy she is. Electronics are one of the greatest dangers in the world right now. Really, like right up there with, global warming, civil wars, not joking, lack of clean water. It creates a virtual world. There's a movie coming out soon called Ready Player One, and it's a rendition, not entirely accurate, of a book I once read, a science fiction book, where the world has become so horrible that people have pretty much disappeared into virtual worlds through their computers. Put a headset on, and they are somewhere else. As you watch this movie, if you choose to, I don't care, I haven't seen it yet, we're just about there. Children disappear into these virtual worlds because the worlds they live in aren't fulfilling or loving or fun or, well, anything good. It creates a virtual world. Endless social media, texting, games, porn, it all makes them not here in the present. All of those things I just named, I'm not condemning any particular feature of any of them. Social media, I'm not condemning people who use it. Texting, games, porn, they all remove us from being here. My children didn't grow up with these things. But if I had them, if I'd had my children, or if I had those things while I was raising my children, they wouldn't have any electronics at all. None, except for computer to do schoolwork, which these days, apparently you just kind of have to have. The benefits of having all of that electronic stuff, there are some benefits. They make some friendships. They connect with people. They can send pictures to their grandmother. People regale me with stories of all the benefits of being on Facebook, blah, 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 blah. And I'm not making this up. If the benefits on a scale of 0 to 100 or 2, the dangers are 98. So if you had a stock, you had 2 stocks to purchase, and one had a 2% chance of increasing its value, and the other one had a 98% chance of increasing its value, which one would you buy? Return on investment. So, there are some good things about some of the electronics, but overall, they are dangerous. Like a gun. Are there good uses to having a gun? Yeah, not very many. If I'm out in the woods and I'm attacked by a grizzly bear, I'd have to have a really big gun. A pistol wouldn't do. I'd kill the bear before I'd allow the bear to kill my family. It's not like I'm going to be in a situation like that. Overall, carrying a gun, overall having guns around is pretty dangerous. And I'm not one of those who's a rabid, nobody should have guns, and I don't take political stands either way. We have to evaluate the relative risk versus benefit. And electronics are risk. The benefits are teeny. You continue. The cool thing is she's just starting to become aware of the difference in how she feels herself, rather than as a result of me teaching her. That's a golden moment when a kid goes, Mom, I'm happier when I'm not on Facebook all the time. Hang on just a second. Let me get my phone and record that while you say that again, so I can remind you later. When the kid notices that they're happier, you've really gotten somewhere, because then they'll start to curb their own behavior. You continue. It's glorious to watch her not get involved in the activities that are destroying the kids around her. And she's seeing that they're getting destroyed. The pull of imitation love at her age, perhaps at any age, but I'm watching her, is so strong. Right now, I am enjoying seeing her open, happy face, and I'm grateful for everything that has led us both to right here. And I'm doing a dance in my head. Is this fun or what, huh? Every parent, listen to this. This is what it takes. And the rewards are huge. You don't do what it takes, it's death, like in some cases, literally.